So today we rounded out our 2023 signing class. We signed 22 in December and added 4 more today to get to 26. 7 of these guys are mid-year enrollees that are already here and are working with us. The breakdown comes down to 13 on offense, 13 on defense. I think kind of the emphasis is probably the big classes in the O-line, D-line, and wide receiver room. And that comes down to O-line, the guys that we lost really 2 years ago, trying to get back to whole this year. Even though we didn't lose many this year, it's hard to sign 10 good ones in a class. So we knew we'd have to split that up, and we got some good ones in those 2 classes. The defensive line certainly lost some good players this year. And looking forward, you're going to lose some more after next year. So we had to get a mixture of guys that we felt were a little bit older, could come in ready to play, and some younger guys whose development will be absolutely critical this year. And I think we addressed those needs. At receiver, losing two of your bigger body receivers at X, that was a point of emphasis. Again, a mixture. You got an older guy coming in here who you feel like will be physically more ready to come in and compete, and then some young guys that have got to grow up and got to come along quickly for us this year and the next. I believe that in recruiting, you sign these freshmen and you have a plan for them, and you're going to try to speed up their development. But you're always kind of not maybe counting on those guys playing. You're always hoping that they can. So for us, we've got a really good group in our building already. We just wanted to add to it, and we're excited about what we're able to add. Today we were added a quarterback in Dewanye Winfield from Letcher High School, proven winner. As gritty as they come, a guy that truthfully from the very beginning was a guy that we wanted on our team, just the numbers wouldn't allow for it. So whenever we had the option to be able to take a quarterback, he was the guy for us. Ultimate leader, competitor. He'll come in here and he will do a great job. He'll add to that quarterback room for sure. The other high school guy is Emiliano Saldavia. He's a linebacker from Cypress Ridge in Houston, Texas. Long, rangy linebacker. Had him over here at camp. Early on in the process, we weren't sure we'd be able to take another one. We had some things that worked out where we could, but we had identified him early on as a guy that really could play for us and could do some things. You watch his versatility on tape. He's playing in the Apex. He's returning kicks in the 6A district out there in the Cypress schools, and just really making a lot of plays. The 2 transfers that we were able to take, Glenn Brown's a guy that I was able to recruit. Kind of funny in the world we live in, 2 times. Recruited him out of high school from St. James. Really liked him as a high school player. Kind of didn't work out the first time around, but Glenn's a really good fit for us. With 1 year left, coming into a room where we're moving some guys around in the back end, but he has some versatility. He's played in the slot. He's got the size to play in the boundary, and certainly he can play to the field. So you add him to the corners that we've already got, and that gives you 4 corners that we feel like are seasoned players that have played, that have made plays. Which is a luxury to have, because I feel like we've got a really good group of young corners that are freshmen. And this allows us to have 4 guys that have played. It's somewhat of an insurance policy where those guys can develop as they need to. And certainly we're going to push those young ones to get ready to play, but Glenn gives you that option of a guy who's played college football and played it well. The last one's Antoine Bayless. He's a guy that falls into our footprint in the DFW area. As a transfer, he fits a need for us on the D-line. With an older guy, I think he's got some versatility to play in and play a little bit inside. So we were able to address some needs that we have that, in the world we live in today where your roster's constantly changing, some of those changes that happened a little bit later, we were able to address those needs in this late signing period and get and add to our roster 4 really high-quality players that have really what we're looking for to bring into our team. They're good players, they're great people, and they're guys that'll make our culture better. So, today's a good day. We got to wrap up the 2023 signing class. For us, we work one year at a time. So this has been a year's worth of work, relationship building, and we've started on the 24th after 7 a.m. So now we're on to the next one. But really excited about this class, a great group of kids that are going to come in here and make us better. Like I said, just what you can add to your class right here, you're always looking to add to that and to try to sprinkle in where you have maybe some deficiencies and things like that. But we've got a bunch of good young players in here. And in this class, that's the same thing. Out of this class, 21 of them are high school guys, 2 junior college players, and 3 transfers. So we were able to stick with our model of staying with high school kids that we can get in here and develop, and we're going to do that as long as we possibly can.
Dennis, were you surprised at Lunch's recruitment at all? I mean, why did it come to now for him?
The truth is that I feel like everyone's looking for transfer quarterbacks. I think that everyone's looking for guys that can come in right now and play. We are fortunate in the fact that we've got 3 quarterbacks that are still on our roster that I feel very confident can go out there and go win college football games. So we had the luxury of being able to take a high school kid that, I think Lunch is way more advanced in his development. Coach Jenkins over there does a phenomenal job. He coached Blaine Goche as well from the same high school, and I was here when Blaine was here. So I know the knowledge base that Lunch is going to come in with. So I don't think he's your typical freshman. But truthfully, that's what I think. I think a lot of these places are looking for transfer quarterbacks that have been in college systems, and I think it allows us to get this guy's a heck of a player and, phenomenal character and all those things. So, you never know why it plays out the way it does. I think that's probably it. But I know for us it worked out in our favor for sure.
So how would you compare him as a high school kid you're recruiting to Zion?
Well, I think it's always the natural comparison is that they're both really good athletes, but they're true dual threat guys. I think that Lunch comes in with really a similar skill set. I guess you kind of find out when you get here and get it in person. The funny thing is we had Lunch come to camp and work out at safety because we didn't think we were going to be able to take a quarterback. So, we've seen him play, and we've got, obviously you watch the tape and all those things, but haven't got to see it in person as much as you would like to because of the way things fell out for us. But I think there are a lot of comparisons that make sense. They're both very mature. They're both very intelligent football players. They understand the game. They've been coached for a long time, coached well, tremendously athletic. I think Lunch is a little bit of a different runner than Zion is. Zion's a little more elusive, a little more wiggle, a little bit more speed. Lunch is a guy that, he's got some elusiveness to him, but he's got a physical nature in the way that he runs the ball and finishes runs. They're both good passers, and that's the thing that I think is really overlooked. This guy threw for 3,000 yards his senior year. That's hard to do, and he throws it really well. So does Zion. So I think they're both better passers than probably anyone gave them credit for. And I think there are a lot of similarities in between the two. I think maybe the major difference would be probably their running style a little bit.
Kind of tacking back to that first question, how do you all feel that you won within the transfer portal?
Well, I think we addressed the needs that we have, and that's the way that we want to use the portal. I think when you're playing for the long game like we are, to build a team that'll last, I still think you build it with kids that you can recruit, high school kids that you can develop, that fit your system. And, if you look at this place, most of the really good players we've had, the NFL players that we've had, have not been highly recruited kids. They've been guys that we found that we felt we could develop, and they fit our system, and they've gone on, and they're still having NFL careers. So you don't have to recruit the top 300 players in the country to get really good, high caliber college football players. They're out there. You can find them. You just got to find them and develop them. So for us, the portal is what we used it the way we're going to use it, to address needs that we maybe have that came up unexpectedly. And, kind of the same way we've used junior college players here a little bit, right? Where you say, okay, well, we got some young players that are going to be good. I'm not quite sure they're ready. Let's maybe get an older guy here that physically is going to be a little bit more ready. And like I said, you just kind of add to the roster that you have. And, every now and then you're going to have a couple holes in there that maybe some development didn't happen like you thought. Today's day and age, you've got, the transfer portal attrition. You've got injuries, with guys that take medical hardships, things like that happen where you got maybe a group of guys that you kind of see them developing as the future, and then some things happen where that group of 2 guys, they're kind of gone. There's a little hole. So that's the way we want to use it, and I'm really pleased with the way that we were able to find guys that fit what we need now.
And then I know we talked about it in Shreveport, but just the need up front on the offensive line, and then those other needs that y'all were looking to fill.
That's kind of what I was saying earlier a little bit, is that, it's not so much what we lost this year, and certainly we lost a couple guys this year, but the previous year as well, in a year where, all in all, we ended up with 12 offensive linemen that were not available to play for us this year. A couple of them were going to be back, but we're not going to find 10 offensive linemen in a recruiting cycle that we feel are going to be really good players over here. I mean, it's just, they're hard to find, especially when it happens really late. So we knew that depth would be a little bit of an issue last year. The guys that we had did a great job, and they've developed continually to the point now where we're really excited about it. But we knew this year's offensive line class would have to be a big class as well. And, I've been told a long time, you don't ever pass up good O-line and D-linemen. They're just hard to find. So we were able to add some really good O-linemen in that class as well to what we got last year. And that was a position of need for sure.
How do you feel about the in-state recruiting? You guys picked up 11 during the signing period, a couple of them today. What can you say about the footprint of the Cajun program, where you're getting people from as north as Shreveport, as west as Lake Charles, as east as New Orleans, getting around the state?
Well, recruiting in-state is always going to be a priority for us. When we start our initial evals, we start in-state. And we try to do, I'd say probably 90% of the in-state before we start to move to our out-of-state area. I am an in-state product, and I just feel like for us there are too many good players here not to thoroughly recruit this state. And throughout the course of time, you get a bunch of offers out to in-state kids, and sometimes it doesn't work the way you want. But the beautiful thing about our footprint is that, Mississippi is, we go over to Picayune, Mississippi to go see, Coleman. That's 2.5 hours. That's practically in state. You go over into East Texas, into the, Cypress, Texas. That's 3 hours, 3.5 hours. So, we're close to so many hot talent bases that, we certainly going to recruit in state first, and that's always our emphasis. But there's not a whole lot of difference between, a kid from Picayune, Mississippi, and a kid from, out in the country here in Louisiana. It's the same deal. So those kids just fit us and fit our culture really well. So, we're proud of trying to dominate in the footprint that you're in, being really thorough in it. One of the things that, we take pride in is we don't want a whole bunch of guys to sign on sign and you say, who's that? That's you have to know your area, you have to own your area, and we do area recruit. So our coaches take pride in that. And every school in this state that plays football will have a UL football coach in their school at some point, whether it be January, the evaluation period in the spring, or December. Every coach, they know that that's what's expected of them by me, that they're in every school at least once a year. So that's kind of the standard, and I think you don't miss a whole lot that way. Certainly recruiting is not a science, but the more thorough you are, the less mistakes that you make.
Would you is Glenn like a pure cover corner, or how would you describe the kind of?
Well, no, he's played quite a bit in the slot as well at the nickel. We're probably going to move Amir a little bit in the nickel. Him and Cam P are going to kind of play in that nickel spot a little bit. So we're taking Glenn more as a true corner. I think part of that is, he's going to be here in June. Learning the nickel spot there's a little more to it. But Glenn, I think, is more of a corner for us than anything. But he has played in the slot, and he has man covered in the slot, and he has, had to pull the trigger out there in the apex and do those things. But for us, that's where we're going to have the veterans that you have in the mix. It'll be him, Keon, Trey, and Caleb. Those are be the 4 guys that have extensive college experience, and you sprinkle in all these, freshmen, Jeremiah Moses, who's here now, can't wait to see him compete this spring. Dubose, is a guy that really impressed this fall coming off of a knee injury. And then you got, Denham Day and, a guy that we really got injured, but, he's a guy that we thought a lot of was a goo. He's a good corner as well. So you got some young guys that just haven't played yet that we're excited about. But those 4 veterans, we always play at least 4. And like I said, it's just one of those deals. It's, if those young guys aren't ready, you don't have to put them in a position. I mean, playing corner now, that people talk about quarterback. You can get burned playing a quarterback too early. You can do the same thing at corner. That can scar you for a while. So it puts us in a position where we can play 4 veterans. They'll be in the mix to compete for it, where we know we can grow up those young guys.
Because obviously, especially the G5 level in the current era of this sport, there's been lots of teams that have lost 15 guys to the portal. I don't even think you guys lost more than 7 or 8, especially this cycle. I mean, why do you think that is? What do you attribute to just, I guess, kind of that continuity that you're able to continue to have following the bowl game, heading into spring training?
The portal's a tricky thing because there are a lot of different reasons why people, get into it and explore the portal. I think that we've been able to, this year especially, where there's a lot more continuity, we've been able to kind of survive it a little bit better, I think, as we do pride ourselves in relationships. Our coaches to players, players to players, players to coaches, and I think that helps. I think our kids believe we're a lot closer than probably everyone outside of our building thinks. And they know that last year, we had some opportunities to go out there and really kind of be in the same spot that we have been in, but we, for a variety of reasons, didn't get it done. And they want to get this thing back to where we were, to where we know we can be. And our players that we recruit, I think it comes down to a couple of different things. I think they've got pride in this program. A lot of them we talked about, they are local. They are kids that are from Louisiana or from, Mississippi or East Texas, and they're from these places that, it matters to them. They take pride in being here. But I think the big thing now and what you're seeing in college football is anytime there's any transition in a head coaching position, whether it's they're hiring someone they're excited about or someone's getting let go or whatever the case may be, that's kind of where you see the mass exodus. And, certainly last year, we kind of saw that and had to survive it a little bit. The guys that we lost this year, I talked about it last year. They did it the right way. We had dialogue and conversations, and some of them, I do believe it was probably in their best interest to leave. Some of them I think would have been better off staying, but that's not my decision to make. But these guys did it the right way, and they were all very respectful, and I think managing something that's difficult because you do have relationships with these guys and they've got them with us and we care about each other. Those are hard conversations to have, but this year I think a lot of it comes down to our players just feeling like we've got unfinished business, and last year's not. That's not the standard that's been set here, and we know it as coaches. The players know it as well, and I think they know there's a lot more for us.
So if someone's going to call that's in a transfer portal, what position would be the most tempting still, even after all this signing, the 20s?
Like I said, it's O-line and D-line's always kind of, it's just, there's a couple things that go into. Number one, it's hard to find humans that are that big that can move the way you want them to. I mean, there's just so many of them in the world, right? Number two, the nature of those positions, I think, number one, you get to play a lot of guys there, you pull, we talked about it quite a bit this year. You pull a quarterback out and everybody's, up in arms, like what's going on here? Well, you pull out, the D tackle, no one says a word about it. You can rotate a lot of guys in there, and you need to. Same thing with the O-line. We played better when we had 8 guys that we were healthy, ready to play last year instead of 6, or 5.5 sometimes. But, it allows you to play more guys. And then the nature of that position is such a physical position. You got a lot of bodies and a lot of mass in a small area. Injuries just happen at a higher rate on the O-line and D-line. And, I think all those things kind of play into that's always the position that you always say, well, if there's a really good one, it would be hard not to pull the trigger and take one.